everybody. This is Riz Ahmed, Chief Research Officer here at SAPinsider, and I'm thrilled to be joined by Bernd Engist, Chief Technology Officer with Avantra. Bernd, welcome to the conversation. Thank you for joining me today.
Hi, Riz, and thanks for having me today.
Awesome. Bernd, why don't we just start by telling the audience a little bit about yourself, your role, and a little bit about Avantra.
Well, about myself, this is pretty easy. My career has only 2 steps. I've been working for a pharmaceutical company, Roche, before I joined Avantra. So I used to work as a SAP technical consultant, certified with Unix and Oracle, right? And started in the very early days already automating, monitoring, implementing stuff which made my life in the beginning easier, and then it turns out it made other people's lives easier as well. So after 5.5 years, I changed to a company called Syslink. So Syslink was a company name before we rebranded us to Avantra. And basically, yeah, we've been a managed service provider. So Syslink was running a managed service provider practice, and I was there for automating stuff, and especially was in the early 2000s. So a lot of things were done manually, and we were I was in charge to automate the monitoring there. And now we are having Avantra. I'm within Avantra now. Exactly, I think in 1 week's time it will be 20 years. So I have my 20 work.
Congratulations!
Pretty soon.
That's great.
I'm now CTO, and responsible for the product.
Great. How has Avantra evolved, as an organization? You mentioned you've been there for 20 years. I'm sure you've seen a lot of change in terms of what you guys focus on, how you help clients and customers. How has that changed particularly over the last year or so?
So the last years were very interesting because the 2 founders of the companies sold the business. We are now owned by a private equity firm in the UK. So I got new management colleagues and everything. And the goal was growth. So we wanted to make us more, better known in the market, right? And we had a tremendous journey with professionalizing a lot of stuff and bring on new customers, new colleagues, in the area of marketing and sales and everything. So this was a very exciting journey in the last years.
That's great. That's great. Let's talk a little bit about, you talked about automation, and we know in our research that we do at SAPinsider that automation is one of the biggest investments, the biggest areas that executives and companies and SAP insiders are really looking at. I'd love for you to talk about why that is. What are some of the drivers around there that towards automation? Why are people looking at it? Why is this so important?
Well, we believe that, or I believe, we believe at Avantra, the number 1 reason for automation is the constant demand for innovation, right? And this goes hand in hand that a lot of people the market is looking for a lot of well-educated people. So we have, with this demand of innovation, it comes together with a lack of talent, right? And this is a driver to get these people off of any repeating or boring work, right? So good, for example, good SAP technical consultants are rare, right? And therefore, we want to make these people's life, or this is something we see everywhere, not only in my space where I'm with, it's everywhere. You want to do things simply automatically.
And it's interesting you talk about that, because we're seeing a similar thing in our research. It's not just about cutting costs. It's about being able to move employees to more strategic tasks and making their life easier. Because as you said, good employees, well-trained employees are hard to find. So you want to be able to keep them. You don't want to bury them in these tasks that don't require a lot of thinking, right?
Yeah, absolutely. By the way, the good people, they want to have meaningful work, right?
Yeah.
And by the way, it's not only automation can as well help to drive the quality of service. We see this all the time. We see as well, for example, these service delivery in India, they are unfortunately very severely hit by the COVID pandemic. And we have customers, our customers, sometimes they have struggled a bit because the Indian delivery center, a lot of people take care of their families, right? This is something which comes on top of this demand and and pressure for innovation.
Yeah, no, that's really interesting. In terms of the types, because you guys have a lot of expertise in terms of helping automate particular processes, IT processes. Can you talk a little bit about what are the processes that you're seeing a lot of demand to automate right now? Where are you getting a lot of questions, a lot of people asking for your services and your support around?
Well, for example, people are when they're doing their journey to the cloud, right? Mm-hmm. They want to have like automation which helps them to save costs in the cloud, right? This is for example a typical use case. And as well, they want to have, for example, intelligent remediation of issues. So if something happens and there's a known solution, they would want to automate this process as well in maintaining the systems, right? For example, what we see, security is a very important topic, yeah. And we see in our industry that people are taking risks because they are not patching their system frequently enough. And every now and then, these systems are at risk, even behind 2 firewalls, right? So this is a particular area, security patches more frequently, therefore automated. Yeah. For example, we had as well very interesting demand of a automobile manufacturer. They had a system hardening project, mm-hmm. And there was a very high management intention in reporting all these settings that everything is being configured secure. And as well reporting this, and this can only be if you have like over 1,000 SAP systems. You can only work with automation.
That's great. So this move to the cloud presents a lot of opportunity for automating security, infrastructure rollout, patching, those kinds of things, because when you're talking about multiple systems, these things have to be replicated. So there's ways to automate that within the area. What's stopping Bernd? Well, why aren't people embracing automation fully? What are some of the challenges that they face that you help customers with in getting to that level of automation that's needed?
Yeah, you need you can't invent everything yourself. If you start from scratch, you will sooner or later you will come to an area or a space where you might be struggling. You might want to use best practices and use standards. For example, some of our customers, they provide self-services to their customers. So we equip people with software for empower SAP teams, SAP operation teams, right? And some of our customers are managed service providers, and then they give our automation possibilities to their customers, for example, to automatically stop an SAP system in the cloud when it's not used, the test system to save costs. We had this before. So what is stopping them? I think, again, if you're on an automation journey, you need to have the right people on board as well, right? And you need to have you need to establish a certain culture. Open. I mean, this is nothing specifically to do with automation. This is with everything which is somehow innovative, and automation is an innovative as well, because you need to have the right interfaces. You need to think, let's say, as a whole. You need to have a holistic view, right? Therefore, you need all this openness, curiosity, creativity, and you need to encourage learning.
You mentioned the cultural aspect of this and the openness to innovation, and that, as you've worked with clients in your many years of experience, what's key to building that culture? How do companies start to build it? Because I know culture changes don't happen overnight. They happen gradually, and it takes strong leadership, as you've stated. But how does a company start to build this culture of innovation, culture of automation, so to speak?
Yeah, so it's definitely not creating a few PowerPoints and writing some values down, right? You need to establish that risk taking is okay, and you need to learn from failure. We see this is one of these reasons why AWS, for example, is so successful. They try out a lot of stuff, and if it's not working, they say, okay, we've learned from this failure, we're now doing it better, or we now know how to not do it. And I think this is something you can't establish just overnight. As well, if you're on such a journey, you can start small. Yeah, start small, and then keep control and everything, and then you can build on step by step and increase your automation capabilities and your automation journey, or go through a step further, so that people who are risk averse, who do not like to take a lot of risks, that you can bring them on this journey as well by going step by step and starting small. I think this is good advice when you want to start or go on an automation journey.
What about from a technology standpoint? What are the conditions? Obviously automation depends on, you talked about it, integration, data, skill sets, intelligence. But what are some of the technological conditions that are needed to make sure, prerequisites that you need to have in place to make automation work?
Yeah, I already mentioned one aspect is that the systems you want to automate, they need to be integratable.
Yeah.
Right. So automation doesn't work when it's stopped at somewhere where you have when you're lacking an interface or something, or when you can automate something on a system A, it should now go to the next system, because we see a very long process chains today, right? Because you have maybe on-premise systems, you want to innovate in the cloud, and then you have these connectors and everything. So standardized procedures and processes are very important to get this done. And you need these interfaces based on common technologies like REST or a little bit more GraphQL, right? And in case of doubt, the systems do not work together as well, don't be afraid to, let's say, to put some glue together, or these connecting thing. For example, we see that some microservices built on Azure or AWS, sorry, on cloud platforms are very successful. And they sometimes are simply enabling that a system A can work with a system B, and you can deploy them very easily. So use automation platforms. For example, and as orchestrators for Kubernetes, for example, is a very cool example. When you run cloud native, or Avantra, especially when you have to deal with a lot of SAP systems. So we have one of them, of course. And try to, whenever you do something new, try to go for the latest technology. And even some of the latest technologies are, when you start to implement them, are already quite, let's say, well tested and have a lot of deployments already, like, for example, use container and the corresponding orchestrator like Kubernetes.
And talk a little bit about where Avantra fits in, right? So how does your solution support, or your sets of solutions and services, fit into this automation landscape? And where are customers, talk about some, you don't have to mention the customers by name if you can't, sure. but like, how are they using you? Give us some examples.
Yeah. So, for example, we have two kinds of customers, right? Some of them are enterprises, as well as really large enterprises as well, which have highly complex environments. not only the amount of systems they've got, but as well the complexity. I mentioned these process chains. And these people want to have a holistic view. They want to have an holistic view on their business infrastructure. So the infrastructure which drives the business. And previously it was simple. You had an integrated system. You had these SAP, for example, ERP, everything was within one system. And then it started to, it got more diverse. You've got a CRM, you've got a process integration. So these several types of SAP systems. And then there's a little bit, let's say, a way back to an highly integrated system built on S/4HANA. But innovations now go to the cloud. This is what SAP's mantra is. And we're helping these operation teams on this journey. And we're helping them to efficiently be on top, be aware of what's going on in their systems, right? With intelligent automation, for example, hidden champion in Germany. These guys are really very, very good. They want to automate everything, right? And they are producing industrial motors and drives, right? And these guys, they have, surprisingly, they want to do everything themselves. They have on-premise first strategy. However, sooner or later, there are products they have to move to the cloud because it's only provided in the cloud. Yeah, for example, they do electronic document exchange with tax authorities, and the product is only available in the cloud. So even they had to find a way, and the problem they have is certificates expire, or they need to log on manually each day and see if messages processing is working. So if messages are actually being sent to the authorities and all this kind of stuff. And they came to us and said, hey, I want to help us to automate this. And this is where we sometimes build solutions. We begin with one customer, build a solution, and then one release later, you will see it as a standard in the product.
Well, again, thank you, Bert, for your time. And I appreciate yourself, your organization, Avantra, and what you guys do and the content that you bring to the table. So thank you very much, and I wish you a great day.
Thank you for having me, Rizal. It was a pleasure talking to you.